This is Tell Me What to Read, the podcast of booktopia.com.au. I'm Nick Wasiliev, and for today's book discussion podcast, I'm joined firstly by Zia. Hello, Zia.
Hi.
Hannah Armstrong. Hello, Hannah.
Hi, Nick.
And then, once again, back by ever popular demand, the amazing host of the Words and Nerds podcast, back for the first time this year, Dani Vee. Dani, welcome back.
Hello, my favourite people. And you always say by popular demand, and I'm yet to meet these people who demand me to come back.
Look at our stats. Our stats, you bring them with you. It's fantastic.
It's science, Dani. It's science.
Science.
It's math, and I'm bad at math.
Trust us.
Yes, and full disclosure for all of us listening, if you are not familiar with the Words and Nerds podcast, I absolutely, highly, definitely, positively, most certainly recommend that you go and check it out because it is amazing, and we love Dani very much. But we are here to talk about the books that we have been reading and enjoying. It's been a little while since all of us have been on the podcast. We've had a Christmas break and everything in between, and plenty of time has emerged in that time for us to sit down and read books. And Hannah, I'm going to throw to you first. I believe you've brought a few books along today. What have you been enjoying?
I have. So speak for yourself. I've been very busy, so I have not been reading that much. I have had a really busy January, so I've only read a few books, but I've my goal this year, I was like, okay, I'm going to read 80 books and I'm going to try and read as quickly as possible and as much as possible. And then once I started reading, I was like, I can't just fire through books. I feel like the way you can when you're not busy, So I've just been okay, I'm just going to focus on slowing it down and picking books that I really want to read and that I'm really going to enjoy. So the first book I'm going to talk about is a rom-com called The Ex-Hex, and I will show you guys the cover. The readers, the listeners obviously can't see, but how cool is the cover for those of you who can see?
That's beautiful.
Is it a matte furry kind of?
It's a black cover and it's got big blue letters, and then there's a big moon in the corner, and in front of the moon there is a man and a woman on a broomstick.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So it's very much when I saw the cover, I was it really reminded me of Bewitched.
I was just about to say that is a Bewitched cover.
Yeah, totally.
Full disclosure as well, if you're listening to this on YouTube, it'll be flashed up on the screen in front of you right now, so you guys will be all set.
Perfect. So The Ex-Hex is by an author called Erin Sterling, and I think this is her debut romance genre book, and the only reason I picked it up was, yes, the cover was very cool, and it was sold into us as Practical Magic meets Gilmore Girls, which both of those things I'm a big fan of. Zia is making a disgusted face right now, but to each their own.
It's the Gilmore Girls reference, I agree.
So the Gilmore Girls of it all is it's set in this tiny little town with a quirky cast of characters, and it's has a very autumn, fall in America vibe. So it's very cozy, and I'm trying to think of things that happen in autumn, in America. It's pumpkin spice lattes.
I was going to say Thanksgiving, kind of Halloween. And
yeah, exactly. Okay. Totally Halloween. So basically the premise of the book is there's this girl named Vivi, and she's 19 at the beginning of the book, and she is ruminating on this relationship. She's just broken up with this guy that day, and she's wallowing in her feelings. She's only 19, so she's devastated about this breakup, and she is a witch, and so is her family, and her cousin says, let's get back at this guy. He was a total jerk to you. Let's put a curse on him as just a fun, how you do, you just put curses on your exes.
Of course. I don't know.
All the time.
Put an ex on their ex.
Every single time.
As a team. I grew up in the 90s. What was that movie? The Craft?
The Craft. Oh my God, stop. Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah. Absolutely natural. I know exactly what they're talking about.
That's half of my personality is just that movie.
Now that's an interesting fact, Hannah.
I know. So they do this pretend little curse thing, and they're Reese Penhallow is the name of this guy. You will be cursed to have bad hair, and you will be cursed to not know, not have game with girls or anything. So that happens, and they're just well, that was a bit of fun. And then, so like 9 years later, Vivi is like now in her late 20s. She's a teacher. And Rhys, who is from Wales, he's over in Wales, and he gets told by his father that he has to come back to this little town where Vivi lives to do like his witchy like duty to like charge the like magic of the town or something, because they have to do that every year. Anyway,
he's a witch as well, so he is...
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, everybody's a witch.
So... And he got cursed. Okay, that's...
But when we meet him 10 years later, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with him. He's like, I'm fine. But then as soon as he goes back to the town, his magic goes like completely weird, and all of these like really chaotic things start happening. And essentially like it ends up like the whole town is then cursed. There's like a ghost comes back. He's like the cat starts talking, which is also very like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Yeah.
And a bit Ted Hamilton Must Die. I'm getting that vibe as well.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
I'll talk to you later about that rom-com.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it was just like a fun, sweet little rom-com. Vivi and Rhys end up having to like team up to like look after all the chaos that's going on in the town and like, you know, break the curse or whatever. And because it's a rom-com, it, you know, inevitably things start getting a bit romantic. And it was just like a fun, really light little read. I really enjoyed it. And yeah.
Sounds like the perfect book you'd go take to the beach and like read, and by Sunday you're like, I can knock this off this weekend, and leaves you kind of buzzing on a Sunday night and wanting to watch 10 Things I Hate About You or something like that. You know?
Totally. Oh my God. Okay.
That's the feels I'm getting.
So glad you said that, because that's another one of my favorite movies.
Yeah. Hannah, we're spirit animals.
I can hear a movie night coming up, a Booktopia movie night.
Just TV soulmates over here. So yeah, that was that book. Great, really recommend. But the next book I wanted to talk about is very different. So it's Cersei by Madeline Miller. Madeline Miller is the author of The Song of Achilles, which is like a absolutely massive bestseller for us. And for listeners who like, you know, follow us on socials and stuff, we had our Song of Achilles Day a couple of weeks ago, and our colleague Sarah actually got to talk to Madeline Miller on our Facebook Live, so that's still up if you want to have a listen. But I'm a big fan of hers, and The Song of Achilles is one of my favorite books, and I had Cersei on my bookshelf for like a few years, and I was nervous. I was like nervous that I wouldn't like it, or I would like it too much, and I just like kept putting it off because I didn't know what to expect. And it turns out it is absolutely amazing.
I love the pressure that we put on ourselves with books. Like I do that too. I have trouble rereading books that I loved because I'm so scared I'm not going to love them as much as I loved them when I first read it.
Yeah. Sometimes I can't talk about books that I really, really love with other people because it feels like too much.
Because it's
like,
yours.
It feels too personal to talk about.
And you get personally offended when they don't like it. Or they
yeah.
That's it. You're blocked.
You're dead to me.
Or like even if they liked it, I'm like, you'll never love it as much as I do. Like inside. Anyway.
Yes, you are with a bunch of book nerds here, people.
Yeah, this is real.
Sounds very healthy dynamic when it comes to reading discussion.
Totally.
Yeah,
totally healthy.
I think it's because I'm a child from like a 4, so I think I'm very like this is mine. Like you can't have it, kind of thing.
I'm an only child, and I hate telling people that because they make so many judgments about only children.
Yeah. Well, okay. So Cersei, she is a nymph. She's like a lesser goddess. She's from Greek mythology. And there's this big kind of like Greek mythology retelling like trend going on at the moment. But Madeline Miller she kind of almost originated it and like does it the best, I think. And it's like this feminist retelling of Cersei, who played like a very small part in the Odyssey by Homer. So like obviously a lot of Greek myths are framed around like heroes who are almost always men, or around gods who are men. And they're always like raping and pillaging and like murdering. And a lot of the times like women and the goddesses of the story, like if you're not Athena, you're disposable. So Cersei is a witch. Oh my God, I have 2 books about witches. Anyway.
There's a theme.
I only just noticed.
That just occurred to me.
Love the headspace.
Yeah,
You've just noticed your headspace.
Yeah, it's so healthy over here, having a good time. And I still haven't finished Cersei because as I said, like before, I'm like, I want to take my time and like really like kind of become immersed in books and not like rush myself through it. So I've just been kind of reading a little bit every day. And the writing is absolutely incredible. This was shortlisted for the Women's Prize. And you can definitely see why, because Cersei as a character, she's kind of like a black sheep, ugly duckling, like, you know, at the very beginning of the story. And then over time she gets banished to this island by herself. And when she's on the island, she starts to really like come into her own power. And she realizes like she does, even though she's exiled, she does kind of like the heroes and myths of Greek mythology are kind of interwoven throughout the story. And I just think it's incredible. And her like power as a woman and as a goddess is like in like her resilience and in like the way she like holds up other people. And like she's so strong and she can look after herself. But there's also this like kind of tragedy of it is that she keeps getting pushed down. But overall, like it is such an incredible book. And I'm really happy that I finally picked it up.
She is amazing. Madeline Miller. When we got the chance to chat to her a few weeks ago, like we got like a really positive response to that event because obviously people love the Song of Achilles. People love that book. It is one of those kind of books that has transcended, you know, your standard initial buzz and has, you know, been one of those million copy sellers that people just love. And for all of our listeners, yeah, she is just as lovely in real life. Like she's a lovely person.
She's so eloquent and well spoken and just like very, very intelligent. So as soon as I listened to that interview, I was like, okay, now I need to go read this other book. And yeah, I definitely am really happy I have.
I love that.
Yeah, she definitely nails the Greek mythology space with all of the work that she does. Wow, I love the witchy place that you're in.
I am.
It's fruitful hunting. It's fruitful book pickings.
Fruitful hunting. Thank you.
You know what I mean. Thank you so much, Hannah. Those books sound absolutely incredible. And then, without further ado, I am now going to pass over to our wonderful guest, Dani, who hosts the Words and Nerds podcast, as mentioned. And I like to let her loose because she reads books like no tomorrow.
Well, I feel like I've let you down because I only have 5 instead of my usual 8 because, Nick, I've just been spending a bit too much time at the beach.
It's not good enough. It is not good enough.
All right, just give me a minute. I'll just read 3 more novels while you do it.
Seriously, 5 books, amazing. I love that. I wish I could read like that.
I don't even write 5 books a year. Sometimes I'm going to give you guys a bit of a secret.
Ooh,
sometimes
confessions.
when I'm on the podcast, sometimes I go, oh yeah, I'm reading this, but I actually read it ages ago and I have to add it because I haven't read a book. I was part of this book club. I'm like, I'm going to read more. And I went on a book club. I was reading the same book for like 7 book club meetings. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm still on the same one. And like, I was getting them to like cheer me on and send me reminder messages like, you've got to do this by the next one. Zia, come on. You've got this. It was, God.
I love it. We don't need to put pressure on ourselves. I just like to have the 8 to stew up, but I've got 5. But Nick, in your background, I just want to pay mention to the background. You've got a That's What I Reckon book. Is that in a frame?
Yeah, this is so for context for all of our listeners, we've got the Favourite Australian Book Award. Actually, this is a great chance to promo it while we're here. This is genuinely, completely,
this is unscripted.
This is actually unscripted.
This is how I roll, unscripted.
So there is 2 versions. There are the 2 winners of the Favourite Australian Book Award behind me. You've seen that in front of you, like there on the screen for you guys watching. But behind him is Kitty Flanagan with her book 488 Rules for Life, which was our inaugural winner. But it's funny you mentioned that, and this is a great time to mention it. We are currently in the middle of round 2, the final round for the Favourite Australian Book Award for this year.
Fantastic.
And we currently have a short list of 10 books to pick from, which are listed, and Nat is included in that 10
Oh,
for his
great.
new...
I interviewed him about his new book, the Jar Sauce one.
Yes.
And he was just exactly as you would imagine, this glorious person. So that was great. Because you know when you see someone a lot and you think you know them because you've watched all the YouTube clips, and then you meet them and you don't know what to expect, but he was amazing.
It's funny you mention him. He is the only person that I've doing this job ever that I've been starstruck by. Like we have a lot of people who come on the podcast. We have a lot of famous people, like, you know, internationally renowned people, whatever. Like you meet them and it's wonderful, and they're usually incredibly beautiful, lovely people. For some reason, and that's what I reckon, I was just like, oh my God.
Oh, you were fangirling. I love that. So was I a bit, I've got to say.
A little bit. But yeah, no, there is it's a favourite Australian Book Award. And I'll include a link in the description for everyone. But if you want, go cast your votes, because it closes on the 31st of January. So you can vote the top 10. I've got them listed up here in front of me.
I'm definitely doing that.
Yeah, it's first of all, it's Death to Jar Sauce, and that's what I reckon. Apples Never Fall by Leanne Moriarty. Heartsick by Mamma Mia stalwart Jesse Stevens. Matthew Riley's The One Impossible Labyrinth. Lynette Noni's The Prison Healer. Bo Miles's The Backyard Adventurer. Christian Hull has also got in there with his autobiography Leave Me Alone. Yeah.
How do you pick?
Yeah, and this goes to show that we have, like, the people who check us out have excellent taste. Like, these books are amazing. Struthless's Your Head is a Houseboat. And then the last two, we actually have a double entry by the one and only Jimmy Barnes with Rosie the Rhinoceros.
Okay, interesting.
That was such a lovely one.
Yeah, it was a beautiful book. And then the beautiful cookbook that he did with his wife, Jane.
His wife.
Where I heard
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's...
Like, what more does Jimmy Barnes have? And he's got heaps.
Yeah. Yeah,
beautiful.
Shanu sung the praises of Where the River Bends a lot. She said, you know, for cookbooks, like, there are cookbooks and there are cookbooks. And when you think Jimmy Barnes drops a cookbook, it's like, you know, it'd be a novelty. But the book itself is legitimately incredible. It's a really beautiful book. But yeah, go to the shortlist. I'll put a link in the description. Cool. But I feel like we've gotten sidetracked because, Dani, we were going to talk about...
That was totally my fault. All right, let's do this. So the first book I read was The Torrent by Danuka Mackenzie. Now, Danuka's debut crime novel. This is her debut crime novel after winning the Banjo Prize with HarperCollins in 2020. So that's amazing, and I was so excited to read it. She also does a lot for you know, the literary world as well. But it's about this pregnant detective, Kate Miles, and it's just the kind of kick-ass superwoman that I need in my life right now. And it's just a great book. It's clean, it's clever, and, you know, I don't know, these days, remember when you could sort of tell when something was a debut? I'm finding that you can't now, because I feel like the quality of debuts are just so amazing. I think there's going to be more crime from Danuka, so there's something to look forward to. And I love supporting Aussie writers. I love supporting new Aussie writers, and I just think the Banjo Prize is so amazing for highlighting, you know, those aspiring writers out there. So fantastic. Just fills me with joy, Nick. The next book I read was Wild Dogs by Michael Trant. This is cool. I do go down a bit of a crime path, but I only did 2 crime. You'll be impressed. Set in WA Outback. This book, oh my God, page-turning thriller. I read a description that called it tough, fast, and hard, and I love that description so much because it's exactly the way you kind of read it. You know, you have to get through it quickly, and it is tough and hard. It's kind of confronting in parts, but, you know, I kind of love that. And when you read a lot of crime like I do, it's sometimes hard to get things that surprise you and shock you. So I don't know what that says about me now, but, you know, the murders sort of get desensitizing, but this book, no way. Great characters, also with that exploration of grief and just some really original content and writing. So Wild Dogs is exactly how it sounds. You know, I love the title. And I just loved everything about it. You'll finish that book in a day. So if you wanted to read fast, ladies, you know, say this one, because you won't be able to put it down.
There we go. Tips and tricks.
I love that when you get a book. I did that with Will Dean's book, The Last One to Burn, or I think I've got that title wrong. I sat down at 6 o'clock and read it, and I did not leave the lounge until I finished it. And I remember being actually physically on the edge of my seat. And it was just brilliant. So I love it when a book does that to me. And so Wild Dogs was definitely one of those. Different pace now, still a novel, Burnt Out by Victoria Bookman. I believe another debut author. This was great for my holiday read. Like I said, I've been spending a lot of time at the beach and on water and sort of bumming around. which has been fantastic. But this book really suited that vibe, set in the Blue Mountains in Sydney. It explores the haves and have-nots. So you've got the creative artist who's sort of lost everything and trying to get her voice heard. And then you've got, this really rich dude who sort of talks about important issues but doesn't do anything. And, she says, put your money where your mouth is. So he does, and her house burns down. This is in the beginning, so no spoilers. And, puts her up in this boathouse in the city. And so it's this sort of clash of cultures. And it's really interesting because at first, you think this is just going to be a real fun, fluffy kind of romantic read. But beneath all of that, which was exactly what I needed for my holidays, you've got these really important issues about what are the wealthy doing about the world? What are they doing about climate change? It talks about bushfires and, what are these wealthy people doing to earn money, and how is that destroying the world? And how are they, what are they doing to combat that? They can talk the talk and they can donate 0.5% of their money, but what are they really doing? So it really gets you to answer and ask those questions as well. So I thought that was really cool. So it's that great blend of fun holiday vibe, but with those kind of important messages beneath it, which was cool. The other 2 books are kids' books. I read Zombies versus the Illuminate by John Larkin. Now, this is a bit of a departure for John because he's this brilliant award-winning author who penned The Shadow Girl and The Pause. And now he's gone, talking about zombies versus the Illuminati, which is really cool. But John's a bit special to me because he was the first person I asked to come on the podcast. And the first person to say yes as well.
That's lovely.
Yeah, so it's really cool. So he hadn't had a book out for a while. And so when he did this one, I said, I'm definitely coming to your launch. And he said, no, don't just come to my launch. Launch at my launch. So I ended up launching his book that had just come out. And it was really a bit special for those reasons. But it's a wild ride. It's fun. And he's really funny because his last books were quite dark and serious. They were beautifully written, but they dealt with homelessness and they dealt with, suicide. So this was a really different departure for him, and it was just fun. And it was for those, kids, those reluctant readers. And I love books that are just fun, for those kids, because even my kids who are great readers, sometimes they just want to have fun, and trust me, when I'm reading a book, I don't want to talk about climate change. I want them to have fun and then go to sleep immediately. So it's really cool that these books are in the world. So awesome, definitely awesome book for kids. And the last one is a picture book. So I do have a bit of a thing for picture books. I picked this up accidentally. I was just, hanging out in a bookstore as you do. And I saw Tomorrow is a New Day by Davina Bell. And I just picked this book up because it's so beautiful and it's packaged so beautifully. And when you just think, I haven't even opened this, but I have to own it. This is how I was thinking. Just picked it up and I felt it. And, the end papers were just beautiful, the little pages at the beginning and the back. And I just thought, wow, this is beautiful. And then so I read it. And, the title can sort of tell you tomorrow is a new day. It's about no matter what happens today or no matter how anxious you are or maybe you don't quite do the wrong thing, tomorrow's a new day and it's a new start and you don't have to bring all that baggage with you. And it was just perfect for my 7-year-old daughter who does suffer from a little bit of anxiety here and there. And I just thought, oh my God, not only is this book just beautiful, the illustrations are beautiful, the writing's beautiful. I thought it was just so fitting for what my daughter needed right at that time. So I gave it to her, and she just loved it and she read it to me, and it was a really cool moment, but it's just such a beautiful book. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely do that because it's gorgeous. Those books that are gorgeous to hold and gorgeous to look at. I'm getting all book nerdy now. So.
Yeah, no, I've seen the internals for that book. So I haven't actually seen the book, but I've seen photos of the illustrations. Gorgeous. It looks amazing.
Yeah, gorgeous.
And I'm pretty sure it made some of us cry. So little
it was just really timely. So when all those things come together in the universe, it's like, this is perfect. So really beautiful. Good feel good book, but also with a really important message as well. That's my 5. I think that's the less I've ever spoken on this podcast.
Wow. Still a great selection though. It's wonderful to hear that, there is kind of echoing the point that you make there. There are so many good kids books out there right now, particularly those picture books. It's like I've been seriously impressed with them, and I think Sarah, our Kids YA category manager, has kind of been rushed off her feet with how many fantastic books there are that are coming out dealing with themes and topics. There's lots of books like that that kind of they're on a mission.
But don't forget those fun books as well, just for joy, because kids need those as well. Particularly I felt through COVID, my kids, I hardly went to school. And, sometimes you just went, come on, let's just have fun, because the world isn't fun right now. So let's read about fun.
The sound of zombies versus the Illuminati is amazing.
Yeah. I saw your eyes on it. Your 12-year-old boy eyes lit up at that point.
The audacity to have a book called that. I want to read that now. Amazing recommendations, Dani. Holy moly, I love it. So before we move on to our final guest, Zia, we are in fact sponsored. Yes, we have another sponsored book this week, and our sponsored book of the week is Margaret Bierman's We Were Never Friends. Lottie Coates lives in the shadow of a genius. Her father, George, is a brilliant and celebrated Australian painter. When Lottie meets the outcast waif, Kyla, at a suburban Canberra school, two worlds are set to collide. Slowly, Kyla is drawn into the orbit of the Coates family. Or is it the other way around? As Lottie and Kyla navigate their way towards adulthood, dark secrets start to unravel with devastating consequences. We Were Never Friends is a story of friendship, the pursuit of a creative life, and the legacies that we leave behind. And it is our sponsored book of the week for Tell Me What to Read. Go check it out now. Links are in the description. And you can also buy it. You can buy it at booktopia.com.au. All right. Our final guest, Zia. Hello, Zia. It is lovely to have you here once again. Tell us about the books that you've been reading over the Christmas break.
So I renovated a house and moved 3 days before Christmas. So
as you do.
Amongst the other building projects that I'm doing and my job. And having two children under the age of 8. So it wasn't. I wanted to pick something up, so I ended up moving in. It was all crap, and I was like, I need a break. So my kids went with their father, and I got a 9-day break where I was traveling to Victoria to see my partner and his family in this beautiful country town in Rutherglen. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to catch a plane. COVID, schmovid. I'm so over this. I don't want my holiday stuffed. I'm going to take a train. So I booked like a first class cabin on Sydney trains, and I took the train for 7.5 hours to country Victoria. And I was like, I'm going to grab a book. I'm always drawn to the classics. This one was recommended to me years ago that I bought. It's a Jamaica Inn by Daphne du Maurier, and written in 1936. And I was like, yeah, awesome. Some Creole fun. Has nothing to do with that, by the way. The Jamaica name is it kind of throws you off. So I took that and I read it in 2 days, and I felt like one of the books team people going, I read a book in 2 days. I was so happy.
I'm so proud.
I know. I was like so proud of myself, and it was right up my alley. So it's, so I'm not sure if any of you guys have read the book. It's not a new release, of course. I never do those, you know me. And I picked it up, and I was like, okay, so it's about this girl who, I think it's Cornwall, okay, or Dorset. I don't know, some place in the UK.
Dorset or Cornwall. One of those ones. One of those ones down the southern end.
One of those ones that are really gloomy with a lot of moors and stuff like that. And she's a farm girl. Her mum dies. She basically has to vacate the property, and she has to go live with her aunt, who's married to this like mysterious kind of weird guy that they haven't heard from her. She was his bubbly auntie. She has to go with her. She's her only left family. And basically on her way in the carriage over the moors, the driver's like, oh, you're going to the Jamaica Inn. No one gets stopped there, especially not a young lady like yourself. And it kind of goes, oh, what's there? And it's like very kind of mysterious of what happens in this inn. And she's very inquisitive, and she has this like really strong spirit that gets kind of broken by this mean uncle and what he does. And and it's very kind of literary, where it's like very descriptive of the fog and the rain and the cold and the harshness of the terrain there, which I found beautiful. Like while I'm sitting there, of course, in 40-degree weather and in country Victoria, you know, listening, reading about snow and rain. But so she goes and she basically that whole good versus evil. She tries to like basically bring her uncle to justice, meets all these people along the way. There's a bit of romance, and you know, there's all that kind of fun stuff that you would expect out of an English literature book, I guess. Right up my alley, and I recommend it actually. And there's another one that she's written, I think it's Rebecca, which is next on my list to kind of get those off. But yeah, I actually think it's a great read, and it's really fun, and it you know, it's written really beautifully, and that's my first book. Then I was like, okay, I've done the fiction, guys. You know, I'm feeling so renewed. It's New Year's. I should do something for myself. So I picked up this book that was recommended to me years ago when I was going through some like D&M deep stuff. It was called The Body Keeps the Score. So The Body Keeps the Score. So who's the author? I can never remember. Give me a sec. Okay, I can't even tell you who's written this book. It'll be there in the description. So The Body Keeps the Score is about how trauma physiologically affects the body, and it could lead to, you know, sickness and disease and all that kind of stuff. So it's written about, mostly it's case studies about veterans of war and soldiers, and that was the research that started about how PTSD affects people and how they can never come back, and shell shock and all of that. And it's about, I'm probably first couple of chapters in, so I can't tell you how it ends, but it's actually really well written, very small font, and I was like, oh God, this is going to be very big speak and really scientific, but it's not. And it's really I think it's very nice. And everybody has a story. Everyone's gone through something. And I think when you go and understanding, or even just being self-aware to understand how that can affect your body and how that can affect your brain, and it can actually, there's even research now to say that you can pass it on. You can actually pass trauma on
a cellular level, right?
Correct.
Yes, this is Bessel van der Kolk, is that right?
Yes, I was going to say, I cannot pronounce it. So.
And I love that. Oh, I don't love the idea. It's a terrible thought. But the idea that trauma or anxiety or depression, you know, I have anxiety, can be passed down on a cellular level is the most fascinating thing I think I've ever discovered.
Yeah. And right? Look, I'm very, very open about my struggles with anxiety and mental health disorder and you know, trauma. I come from, these guys know, I've always spoke about it. Like, I grew up in the Middle East. I've been in civil war. I've seen that kind of stuff. I've displaced and moved and all these kind of things. And I was kind of going, I need to deal with some stuff, which I always do every year. And as you grow older, and I don't want to give it to my kids. And I'm like, oh my God, I do this. Oh my God, I instill fear in my children because I'm scared of it, and I give it to them. And
isn't it eye-opening? Like, it's so eye-opening because not myself, like, you know, not your experiences. My grandparents were in a Japanese war camp, and I remember my Oma being anxious all the time, and I feel that, and I'm like, why do I feel that? And when you find out that it can be through DNA, it's just mind-blowing, but it changes everything. It changes everything about the way you see the world.
And how you're self-aware, and how, you know, you become conscious of how you behave, what you say, what you do. And when you react to things, you know that you're reacting because of a reason. It's not just, you know, and all those things. And
game changer.
And it can really open up a path towards, you know, recovery or self-awareness or even acceptance and kind of, not mercy, that's not a really good word, being gentle with yourself,
kind to yourself, definitely.
You know, all those kind of things, which I need. I'm my harshest critic up there, and I think a lot of people are. And reading and opening up a subject and actually putting it in front of me kind of brings you back into kilter, going, oh, wait. You know, COVID does that to you. The whole world in the last 3 years can really get us really hyper vigilant and really kind of not, like you said, not fun. And bringing it back to kind of the, not fun, but being aware that it's not fun, and making the conscious choices on how to change how you are with yourself and all of that. So I really recommend it. As a book, it's really easy written. I've read some of these books, and sometimes you're just like, this is a science book, I'm not really interested, and you kind of drop it down. But those two, The Body Keeps the Score.
Great choice, love it.
I love you always bring the classics that people have often forgot about.
I do. I always have to. I always pick one up. Every second or third, I pick up a classic, and I'm like, oh, Tolstoy, I'm still going to get him. But you know, and that's my what's that mountain at the end? That's my Everest, to actually finish War and Peace. But
Oh,
Win it as the next one.
I tried and gave up. Maybe we can read like half each or something.
I've given up. I've given it up about. I've tried to read that for about 20 years now.
I know, and it's just so hard. I might write a picture book version of it.
Oh wow! Good luck trying to condense that into a picture book. My word, it'd be an achievement in itself. But it's so good because like revisiting classics, I think, is something everyone should do at some point. Not the least of which because you'll likely come across something that is genuinely amazing and inspiring. And
it's a future episode, Nick. Bring back the classics.
Bring back the classics.
All talk about the classics.
So cool.
It'll be great.
I'm making a note. It's a done deal. I'm going to I'm going to write it down. We're planning a classics episode.
Yes, it's fun. Because I would totally do that.
I know that I always find my most fascinating thing about the classics is about the language is different, of course. The language is different, but also going in and trying to understand from what that person's perspective was. Like if it was a woman author in the 1600s, their perspective was so different, the way they wrote about it, and going, I wondered that person's world, what that looked like for them to only imagine this or imagine that or write about this. And it takes you back to that time.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And I think it's so fascinating to me.
Let's nerd out and do that in the future, Nick.
It's a done deal. It's a done deal. I've made a note in the... I've made a note in the notepad. Next time Dani's coming on, we're going to try and do a classic episode. I'll say to everyone, all right, classics up. You've got homework to do. You've got books to read.
And I'll be the only one that can go, well, I've read all of these classics.
I hope you like Oscar Wilde.
I do.
Yes, absolutely. You got to have Oscar in there. Is it a classic episode?
I'll be talking about Oscar Wilde.
Is it a classic episode without unless you have Oscar Wilde? I don't think so. Thank you so much, Zia. Amazing recommendations, and thank you all for a fantastic episode. Sadly, we have come to the end of our book recommendation and book discussion podcast. Be sure to check out the amazing Dani Vee in Words and Nerds. I'll include the link to it in the description. She's kind of been doing a retro look with a lot of most listened to podcasts over the last couple of weeks. So be sure to check them out. There's a lot of Publisher Insider episodes, literary festival episodes that she's been doing. So be sure to get along and check it out. Also, Dani, she's got a book coming out too. She has a book coming out in August 2022, a picture book, My Extraordinary Mum.
Oh, aren't you cute? You're very cute. I was sick of reading about boring, sensible mums who lived to put sunscreen on their kids. I'm like, come on, us women, we are more exciting than that, right? So that gives you a hint as what this mum, although she does love sunscreen, it's good to be sun safe. She's also rock climbing and skinny dipping, man. Like, so.
Oh my gosh. Is this like Bad Mums except in picture?
No. No. This is like cool mum who's still a really good mum. She just is not boring, like how we are perceived. And ladies, we are not boring. Come on.
No, we're not. My son, what does he say? Mum, you can't dance in the car.
Yes,
so cringe.
Well, hang on. Let me dance outside of the car.
No, I can't. He said you can do this under the steering wheel where no one can see you because, Mum, you're not cool. And I said, listen here, I am cool. And I was like, I'm the mum who's trying to tell her kids I'm cool. That means I'm not cool. And it's a sad day.
It is a sad day, but as long as you think you're cool and I think you're cool, Zia, that's all that matters.
Thank you. I think
this is for you and all the cool mums out there. Thank you. That was a lovely
stereotype. Let the children know that mums are cool.
The order going in I'm getting my kids 2 copies of that.
Well, I'll sign them for you. I'll say, your mum is cool and can dance anywhere she wants.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
The author says so. I'll include a link to that as well down in the description.
You're very sweet. Thank you.
So be sure to check that out. And Dani will be sure to return the favor soon, and we'll have a guest or two appear on the Words and Nerds podcast.
Always.
Yes, will absolutely be over there, and we'll trade emails. We'll get on that. So thank you so much, everyone. You can find the links to all of the books that we have talked about today in the description box. Also, you can go to booktopia.com.au. It's a great website. We highly recommend you check it out. Literally, it keeps this podcast running if you go and buy books from there. So please go and do that, because then I have a job and life is great. Please join us next week as we sit down for a food and drink special episode, as we'll revisit our discussions with Adam Lior and Carla Lally Music. As always, thank you for listening, and never stop reading.